What's up, everyone? Juicy J, Vague Prophet from Dude Let's Chat here with our good friends from Work in Progress, Brent and Casey. How are y'all doing this evening?
Pretty
Not too
good.
bad, not too bad.
I
Pretty
love it.
good.
I love it. I love it. And you know what we're here to do? It's Bleach. It's Core 2 of the Thousand Year Blood War, Episode 3, and I am excited. I'm taking it. Everyone watched it. As y'all can see,
Yes,
Yes,
Isaac
we all
isn't
yes.
watched
here
it.
because he's still got some things to catch up on. Nah, bro, and I understand you're kind of busy this evening, so no disparity from me. It's just, the last episode kind of weird. I'm hoping you catch up, man. We'll catch you on the next one. Guys, this third episode, both as anime watchers and people that have read this manga, how was it for y'all? Just initial take. We'll start
Oh,
with
I
you,
definitely enjoyed
Casey.
it. Uh, oh well, I'm sorry for taking over there.
No,
No,
no, no,
I
no.
definitely enjoyed it. I mean, the whole fact of you know um them going against their own bankais, I did want to see a little bit more of that, but I did enjoy the fact of when they were using their bankai, you could see the holification process as well, and it just looked really cool.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the aesthetic, if you will.
There we go. There we go. Britt, initial take on the episode. You got to watch it. You recently read it. What'd you
Th-
think?
this was probably like my first favorite episode between the two cores. Um I have and one of these days we'll talk about it, but I have a very complicated relationship with Bleach, having been someone who I read the entire series over the course of a few months earlier this year, and I have it's a very anyways, but when reading manga, so first of all, this episode covered three chat three chapters with some filler. Um, uh, so as someone who reads the manga, it's as manga in general, it's really interesting seeing something get transferred from black and white into color. And As someone who also hasn't watched the original run, so the only Bleach part of Bleach that I've watched is the Thousand Year Blood War, plus like maybe 30 episodes at the beginning of the original series. I don't even know if I got that far, but um it's interesting seeing things get translated into color, right? So first of all, the captain of the science squad, I didn't realize that his outfit rotated colors. Like I didn't realize that like his
The
colors,
prismatic? Yeah.
yeah, which was like really cool. um and then of course, like when you watch, I don't think I'll ever get his name right. um uh Kind of like he when all the Stern Ritter started like activating that power at the end of that episode, it was really cool seeing them all in different colors, as opposed to like maybe just being all white when it goes up in the air. Instead, it's like you saw red, you saw blue. I think there was a yellow one. So that was all really cool. I thought that was really neat. And I also liked the filler stuff, just like that.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Those 5 minutes of filler that we got. Because the thing is, like, basically what I was doing on, since I still have commercials with my Hulu, um, and I know that I'm kind of bogarting the conversation right here, but like in that minute and a half of Hulu, what I do is I kind of go back to the chapters and just kind of see how we're progressing and how many chapters are being covered and how well they're being covered. Um, and I got to that part. I was like, oh, this is filler. This isn't in these chapters. But it was cool. It was cool stuff.
I tell you, man, it was definitely great. And so I know we're a few minutes into it, so I'm gonna let y'all know we're gonna continue talking about the anime, but we're gonna give you a clear indication, probably around the 12-minute mark, 'cause we're probably gonna go that far, where we're gonna start talking about the manga, just to kind of reference the two. So right now we're going to talk about the anime, and we'll do that. When we do, we'll let you know it's time to cut off. Leave a like, comment, and everything else at that point, and just cut off unless you really want to know some spoilers and some comparisons. So back to it though, this was a fantastic episode. There are definitely a lot of things that we got to see, especially for like Hitsugaya, for instance. Like he brought up, so you believe that your Bankai is a sentient being, it's its own person, has its own thoughts. I don't believe in pantheism, stuff like that. And my thing is, the funny joke about this is that his Bankai, well, rather his Zanpakuto is one of the most unique Zanpakuto out there, which you would only get from watching the Diamond Dust Rebellion, but also by reading some of the supplementary stuff to find out that his Hyorimaru is actually a being that had to accept him in order to be a sword. And so it is, in essence. It would never attack itself. It is definitely a divine being. And while you can argue whether it is canon or not canon, it is widely accepted that his Bankai is a unique one. So
Mm, I didn't know that.
yeah, one of the movies is really good. Of course, it's a movie, it's a shonen movie, so it's like, where did
Hmm.
this fall in the grand scheme of things,
Hmm.
But
It's
it
like watching Dragon
definitely
Ball Z Brawly, like the
yeah.
original Brawly movies. Like, where does this fit into the Cell
Well,
Saga?
and
This
any
doesn't
of
quite
them.
make sense.
And
I
any
know.
of them, like watching the Tree of Might and the World's Strongest, and you're racking your brain, like, I
It's
guess
like
this could have happened.
Gohan shouldn't be that old.
Yeah, yeah, it's like nothing's making sense. And even more than that's like they know about the Saiyans, but they shouldn't know about the Saiyans, like not for the powers they've got. When did Goku get healed again just to go back to the hospital? What happened? So it's kind of the same here. It's like, where did this happen? The only difference is, of course, they made sure to add enough filler arcs where you could have been like, sure, somewhere between the bounce and the first Arn car, sure, sure,
That might have happened.
that
Sure.
may have happened, sure, so it has to happen after they all became friends, but it has to happen before the Arrancar came, in the Hueco
Mhm.
Mundo invasion. So,
Mhm.
but definitely for this episode, aesthetically beautiful. I definitely
Yeah.
like how they really showed and depicted the Urahara and Mayuri Kuretsuchi relationship.
Hmm.
One thing
Yeah,
I noted was, I get it. He's doing that rainbow hue, and honestly, I don't think that was showcased in the manga, but I think that he's just doing that to show off. Like, let's be
yeah.
fair. I can do
Yeah.
this. It
No,
don't
no, he's
matter.
totally doing that to show
He's
off.
he's
It
showing off.
wasn't. I don't remember. All I remember is just like in the manga, he was just completely white. So I think he
Yeah.
was just
Hmm.
glowing. So
Yeah.
I think they changed that in the anime just to like fit his personality of showing off, and it just fits him perfectly
And
because he always does
and
random things like that.
this isn't a spoiler by any means, but like I never like it's interesting because unless unless it's like painfully obvious when reading the manga, unless it's painfully obvious or stated that it is day or night, you never know if it's day or night. So
That's true.
I
Mm.
didn't know that the second invasion was at nighttime.
Well,
It
it's
always felt during it, I don't know, there was something about it that felt daytime. And so it's kind of cool that it's taking place at night, to be honest.
technically it's not at night though. It's it's
Oh, that's
they're
right. He put
in
a
a whole new,
barrier up
yeah,
or
they're in
something,
a
huh?
whole new dimension, and they're actually showcasing that. So what they did at the beginning, though I guess we are kind of jumping into the manga a bit, is they showcase, hey, we're in this barrier, and they showcase a lot of people are outside of it, a lot of people are in it, and of course they're going through this second invasion.
Then I'll rephrase. I didn't realize that it was dark.
Yeah, that well, I really love the lighting. I was like, this is like watching an old
Mhm,
school like Japanese like feudal Japan movie about just feuding families, houses, or an invasion where like army type movies. If you've ever watched any of them,
mhm,
it's really got that feel. And surely it's Shiro Sagisu with his compositions, and Tite Kubo is definitely pulling off of a lot of older styles when it comes to the
mhm,
feudal and the setups and stuff like that, and the aesthetic. It's looking, and not from anime style, but from just old media in general. It's got this weird feel. Like even though they're doing over the top powers and stuff like that. To me, it's felt like just like this invasion of a warring army in feudal Japan, and they're losing. The fights are seamless. They look great. I love everything about it. And of course, the score. Shiro Sagisu is doing amazing for the music. And this is a person that, of course, did this music and things for Evangelion, but has also done some pretty amazing things with like the Shin Godzilla um, media and stuff like that. Has done a lot of Godzilla work as well. And you're really just seeing that, like this setup of really amazing scenes, in my opinion. It's great. I didn't expect it to come back with such fervor. In fact, we're probably at least 5 or 6 episodes past what I thought we'd see our first like filler episode. Like, what is Karina and Yuzu doing? Like what's
Mhm.
happening on Earth? Is Don Kanoji still around? I expected them to throw something in here a long time ago, but instead they're using filler or what is perceived as filler based off what we've seen and read. As I guess just what do you mean? What would be like flavor enhancers? A spice.
Right.
One thing that we all saw, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, was Shinji Hirako and his Bankai.
Hmm.
And I guess I'll just say it right here. That was never shown in the manga. That
That
was
was that
completely
was
new.
that was teased. That's been teased all year. Was seeing his Bankai.
Yeah, that's been teased. That's been
Hmm.
teased for the anime. But as far as the manga
Yeah.
goes, it's never been there. In fact, there's only
Right.
one place where it's ever been referenced, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this. It's been and we've been wrong. Ichigo's been in every episode so far. Ichigo's been
Yeah, but it's okay. We could talk
Okay.
about this. We could talk about this later. We can talk about this later. All right. All right.
it's
We'll
uh,
talk
it's
about
uh
that later. But yeah, I've said my piece until we get to talking about the spoiler
you're
stuff.
right, you're right. We're dancing around it, but we're almost there. And Casey, anything more to add about the anime?
Well, in all honesty, I'm just quite enjoying it. I did love seeing what's his name's Bankai, where everybody just kills each other. That
Hmm.
that just
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, I don't know why, but that was just so fulfilling.
It was.
And just the way he was talking to the girl is just like, oh, I even learned how to talk backwards and forwards and all
Yeah,
words. So like, it doesn't really bother me.
I remember reading that bit in the manga and I was, the fuck is going on? Like is like whoa. It, yeah, that was cool though.
it's good
But
stuff.
I will admit I am kind of getting a little tired of the I planned it and you planned it and we planned ourselves, and what kind of plan does every plan have that all ends in, oh, we already knew this was going to happen. Like, come on, guys, I'm starting to get tired of this now.
I mean, it is feeling like the last half of Code Geass, yes, but it is what goes off in the Thousand Year Blood War manga. Um, I guess speaking of which, we're right there. We're at about 13 minutes. I think this is where we're going to move over to the manga stuff now. So, guys, if you were here for the anime, that's where our feelings, and we kind of already touched on a bit of it, but we're definitely going to dive a little further into it. So, I would say if you don't want to know, it's time to go. But thank you for coming. Anyway,
So
so as far as mangas, go ahead, Brent.
what I was gonna say is like, yes, we're seeing Ichigo. We're seeing Ichigo in filler BS at the end of each episode post credits
It's
because
true.
because the anime knows that it relies on Ichigo as its protagonist. Okay,
Mhm.
so they have to keep him semi-relevant until he shows up at the beginning ready to fight next episode. Okay, that's going to
Fair.
happen at the very beginning of spoiler alert. That's going to happen at the very beginning of the next episode. Great. But then, like and I pitched my predictions for where the season's going to end.
Hmm.
So basically something that I wanted to talk about with you guys is, and I'm probably going to get some hate from you guys by saying this, I don't like the OP. I don't like it at all. I don't the song is okay, but there's something about the OP. Knowing what I know about the manga, there's something about the OP that feels incredibly disingenuous. Um
That's fair.
So simply because like, yeah, at the end of the season, we're gonna, once again, spoiler alert, we're gonna get an encounter with Ichigo and Uryu. And the OP teases that a little bit, right? It does. However, the thing is, like, it's gonna happen in like the last 2 episodes. Like the rest of the season is just captains fighting the Stern Ritter, right? It's just and I did the math, right? Each episode so far has done on average 3, 4. Like, I mean, we're only 3 episodes in, but and like last week's episode was 5 chapters, but this week's episode was 3 chapters plus maybe what could be half a chapter's worth of filler, right? So maybe 3.5 chapters worth of content if that filler was a chapter. If that does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of evening it out to about four chapters an episode, give or take. And it's a 13 episode core, right? Or is it 12? Do we know?
I think
Is
it's
it 13?
13.
It's 13. Okay. Yeah, because this was episode 16, right? So
Mhm.
so it would have been 14, 15, 16. And so that puts us right around um as Urachi is entering the palace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I think it's gonna go into as well. It's like it'll be him using the way Ichigo got there to get there. Yeah. So
Right. So so basically, like, I wanted to talk about the OP. The OP is just when I look at the OP, I'm just like, as a manga reader, this is very frustrating to me because we're not going to see we're n- we're not going to see a whole lot of Ichigo. We're not going to see a whole lot of Uryu. We see Ichigo at the end of each episode, and he's doing some training. We're going to see him take the dive next week. Uh and then it'll be more post credit of him diving going, I'm almost there. And most likely that's what I predict. And it's
mm,
just like, so I don't know. I think that like a good it basically what it does is the OP is still promoting Ichigo as the main character of
mhm.
this show. And and he is, but like if you think about it, the and I'm not trying to make myself out to be like this crazy Bleach expert because I'm not. But I felt like I felt like all of Thousand Year Blood War is it's really more of a focus on the Soul Reapers in general. And
Mhm.
I do like how the OP does have a lot of the the Soul Reaper captains and the Stern Ritter interacting within that. But it's still heavy Ichigo focused, if you know what I mean. And I think it would have been a lot more interesting if they truly embraced the fact that Ichigo is dialed back until the last 100 chapters of the thousand year blood war arc. I think like that would have made an actual unique watching experience for Thousand Year Blood War because uh, you know, not a whole lot of stories will completely rip their main character out and focus on something completely different. And I feel like the anime is forcing Ichigo into a story that he's not quite a part of yet. Am I making any sense or am I on some weird rant?
You're not
Both?
you're making sense, but you are off the mark. But the only reason you're off the mark is because you haven't watched. So reading the manga, of course, I get what you're saying, and you're looking for meaning in an OP. I don't really want to get into it in this particular conversation because this is going to extend us by about 10 minutes, probably. But I will
Sorry,
say that you
sorry.
are you are off the mark only because you have not watched other openings to understand why this opening is a great hybrid of the two styles they always went with.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say
Fair
that, and
enough.
we'll have a conversation about that after this, maybe even recorded. Maybe we'll just toss into a podcast to talk about it a bit, to see if we can
Yeah.
persuade that. Um, but I do agree with you. It's like, man, this was still focused on Ichigo. We're not going to see a lot of him for this season.
Mhm.
I do get that aspect. It's like, yeah, and of course it's focusing on him and Udio. And let's be fair, both of them are kind of Udio's only real premise here is just to literally stand next to Yavak and listen to him talk about how light Yagami he is. That's ultimately Udio's whole thing until they leave. It is, and so
Mhm.
like that, and that's what's going to be for a while. So honestly, having this focus on both of them was
Mhm.
pretty interesting. But we'll go into that a little later.
The final thing that I want to say, and I know that you sort of brought this up earlier,
Hmm.
kind of maybe, but like what I like about filler, and like when filler, good filler is when there's expansion on maybe perhaps the manga didn't get to, right? So
Yes.
I like that kind of filler. That's the reason why I think Black Clover has really great filler, because the filler episodes of Black Clover generally bridge the gaps between arcs, because the in the manga it's very jarring because it just goes arc to arc, whereas in the manga, in the anime, there's like an episode or two that bridges the gap between. So in my mind, that is good filler because it just expands a little bit, maybe offers a bit more character development. um so so I am hoping that the anime expands on Thousand Year Blood War in a way that makes it feel a bit more complete by the end of it,
Yeah.
with certain things being a bit more satisfying by
Well,
the end of it.
they've already started that. Showing Shinji Hirako's Bankai was very big because it was never
Hmm.
in the manga. The only place we knew about it was in the light novel Bleach Can't Fear Your Own World. A great
Hmm.
light novel, and really was talking about a lot of things in that, a lot of data compiling. But one thing that they really brought up in that light novel was that his Bankai is banned in the Soul Society. Like he is not supposed to do it. And it's been referenced before in the
I
whole
think I
pendulum.
remember.
Yeah, the pendulum match. Like
I think I remember that. Yeah.
it's been banned, but it really showcased why. Because like he said, honestly, the reason why I like the fact they actually showcase it here was because, of course, back in the day when people were talking about his Bankai, it never got shown, and then we saw what it could do. The first thing people thought of was, well, why didn't he do it against Aizen? And of course, it started this whole thing in the fake Karakura arc of like, well, if he would have done it against Aizen, he still would have lost because quote Setsu is way stronger than his thing, right? Blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
My thing is, it also showcases, though, if it's only one opponent, that Bankai is kind of useless. His Shikai is way better for one. Obviously, because we're seeing
Mhm.
that whenever he comes up, he's not using his Bankai, you know,
Hmm.
against Homegirl. He is only using his Shikai because that's the best
Yeah.
for single targets. If there was multiple Stern Ritters there, he could possibly use his Bankai and do something really awesome. Same thing with Aizen here. He could use his Bankai, but what's Aizen going to do? Just go fight someone else other than Shinji?
Did
Like, are we
did
like
we
turn him on Momo? Like,
did we ever see Eisen? Anyways, maybe that's a
Aizen
question for
didn't have
after
it.
the.
Aizen didn't has never shown his Bankai either. That's just the
Well,
whole
That's what I
thing.
thought.
Yeah.
so that, technically he has. It's just we cannot see it. He's
That's
Mhm.
right.
only
That's right.
released it once, and that was to hypnotise all of Seirete, or all 13 guard captains
Yeah, yeah,
and
that to hit everybody.
co-captains.
It was done off screen. We didn't. All we know is that it happened enough to where he got everyone. Um,
Yeah,
but
it was like during his
S-
captain's test or
s-
something.
Sorry,
mhm.
I don't mean to keep the like. I know that we probably need to wrap it up, but
No, no. I mean,
yeah.
hey, it's a good discussion. Honestly, this is kind of a dual point to it, and there were other things brought up that are very good. The
Hmm.
openings we definitely want to talk about a little bit later. Like you just brought up with the filler is exactly where I wanted to go with it, and I appreciate it. You are absolutely correct. Filler done right is what Bleach is doing
Hmm.
right now. We're not doing filler episodes right now. We're not doing filler arcs. We're doing filler points that really flesh out the story they were telling, because let's be
Mhm.
fair, a lot of people who read Thousand Year Blood War believe the same thing. It was rushed. especially in the last 50 chapters. It is
Yeah.
rushed. It is rushed, and it's good, but it's rushed. They were setting up all these things. We never saw Shunsui do his Bankai, but it was really hinted at the beginning of Thousand Year Blood War that he was finally going to do his Bankai. Not Shunsui. Oh goodness gracious, guy with the 6'9" on his cheek. I
Yeah, that
always,
guy.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the lieutenant, and I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. My apologies to all the fans out there.
I
Flame me in the
I
comments.
feel like I
Gary.
should
But
know his name too because that 9 always stuck out.
yeah, well, the 6'9" really for me.
6'9",
But
that's right.
but but I'm just childish. My thing is, it really, really showcased like his Bankai is going to be happening, and we don't see it. A couple of other things in the manga, like Lieutenant Kira coming back, and it's like, oh God, is he dead, alive? What is this? And all it shows is him show up to the battlefield, and then suddenly Ichigo's fighting Yavak, and crap's
Mhm.
going down. It's like, oh, cool. Something else they showcase that seems like is going to be filler is they're actually going to showcase, I guess, the Soul King. That's what happened at the end of the episode. They showed in each goes like his little flashes, like where he's seeing the Soul King do things, which definitely
Yeah.
we didn't really get to see what the guy did. We just know that he is the Soul King, this weird crystalline monument to himself.
Mhm.
It is its own thing. But Casey, we've been just taking this. What do you feel like about all this filler and what they're doing with the manga stuff?
So it's been a long time since I've read it, so stick with me.
Gotcha.
What exactly are the filler parts of the episode?
Shinji
That guy,
Hirako would be the first one.
that
Or
guy's
the biggest one.
Bankai.
Yeah,
Bankai, okay.
that was
So
really
that
big.
one I definitely enjoyed. I do was really honestly interested to see what his Bankai was, just because of his Shikai. So I am glad that that happened. Um, I feel like the whole thing with Ichigo, I feel like that's also a sort of filler. I don't remember that in the
It's
manga.
all filler. The
Okay,
Ichigo
so
stuff is all filler.
I do like that, especially considering the fact that I don't know if it was the original story or it got conflated with me, but the fact that Ichigo is supposed to be the next Soul King, it kind of showing that process happening. And I
Fair,
actually really do enjoy that.
fair, because that's really what it was kind of pushing towards. And
Mhm.
it is just so
The,
that
the
so
other,
that's go ahead.
the only other thing I would state is I don't really know that much about opening themes and stuff like that. Um, when it comes to Ichigo as the original protagonist, the story's not about him. I think we've actually had that discussion beforehand. He's literally just in the middle. He is the consequences of all these actions happening. And that's probably the reason why he is set to
Oh,
become the Soul King.
well, so the issue is like, okay, maybe what you're saying is accurate, right? However, this story has been in existence for what, over 20 years since the beginning, right?
Mhm.
Um, and he has always been touted as the the main character, right? Is like you know what I mean? Like he yeah. Um and I think that you can have uh you can have a character that is the center focus while still branching off and doing other things, but the thing is, like, you got to promote it that way. You got to promote it that way. um what is a good example of that? um kind of like in Lord of the Rings, right? Frodo is the main character. He is the main character, but it's never, but in the promotional material for Lord of the Rings, he's not promoted as the main character, right? Everyone, like, does that make sense? So, but Ichigo has always been promoted as this main character. So, as I was reading it, I was just like, where is Ichigo? Where is Ichigo? I want to see more Ichigo. He's supposed to be the main character of this story. Um, and by Thousand Year Blood War, I accepted the fact that maybe perhaps he is not the main character of this story. And I know I'm just ranting and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but like it's just it's this weird thing for me is like if you're going to promote somebody as your main character, then make him the main character. Don't have him disappear for pretty much an entire year in manga chapter publications.
Like Goku.
Okay.
That's well. There's definitely a conversation for that. We'll talk about
Yeah,
that in
yeah.
OPs and in story progression. It has hit the 30-minute mark, guys, so it's a longer one as
Sorry.
we talked. No, it's all good. We talked about openings. We talked a little bit about the manga and the extra stuff, and of course the anime from beginning. Guys, I'm gonna have links in the description for Work in Progress SLO here on YouTube, as well as some of their social media platforms. Please go give them a like, a follow, subscribe. Catch some shorts by this guy over here because they are pretty wonderful and they're very informative and kind of keep a really like there's a focus on Zom 100, which you can see myself on their recordings for Zom 100 and for Kenshin, of course. But definitely go watch some of this and look forward to a video coming out shortly. It was the starter animes for people just getting into animes,
Beginner
correct?
anime.
And
Yeah,
so that's
beginner anime that are less than 100 episodes.
exactly. So look forward to that, guys. And of course, you know where to find us at Dude Let's Chat, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting platforms and social media such as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So thank you all very much. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay beautiful.